My story. Remember, Captain, your primary goal is to establish peace, echoed the voice of his comms officer, Lieutenant Mira Sampson, through his earpiece. Stay focused on the mission. I know, Mira, Jonah replied, brushing a hand through his tousled hair. But this place, it's incredible. He took a moment to absorb the sights and sounds, from the gentle rustling of the plants to the distant call of exotic creatures. As Jonah moved further, he noticed a group of Elysians approaching. They were tall, graceful beings with luminescent skin shimmering in shades of turquoise and violet. Each wore elegant garments adorned with intricate designs that seemed to move, reflecting the light like the surface of a rippling pond. "Welcome, human," said the leading Elysian, her voice melodic yet commanding. Her turquoise eyes locked onto Jonah's, assessing him with an intensity he'd never experienced before. "I am Lyra, diplomat of the Elysian Council. You tread on sacred ground." Jonah straightened, determined to make a good impression. "I'm Captain Jonah Swift, here to understand your culture and form a partnership. Humanity has no interest in conflict." Lyra studied him for a moment, her gaze unwavering. "Words are just whispers carried by the wind. Prove your intentions." Before Jonah could respond, a commotion erupted from the back of the group. Another Elysian, shorter with vibrant yellow accents on his skin, pushed forward. "Wait, we can't trust him. Humans bring only destruction." Jonah took a step closer, hands open in a gesture of peace. "I understand your fears, but not every human belongs to a violent past. We want to learn, to grow alongside you." Lyra raised a hand, silencing the murmurs. "The council will hear you, Captain, but you must work to earn our trust." "Of course," Jonah said, feeling the weight of her expectation. "I can demonstrate our willingness to cooperate. Perhaps through our art, we have talents that could unite our cultures." "Art?" the yellow-accented Elysian scoffed. "Will paintings stop wars?" "Perhaps not," Jonah replied, maintaining his composure. "But art represents understanding. It tells stories of our histories, our dreams. It can build bridges." Lyra's eyes sparkled with intrigue. "And how would you demonstrate this art?" "There's a tradition among humans called a cultural exchange. We can hold a festival showcasing both our art forms, our languages. It would open the door to conversations," Jonah suggested. The yellow-accented Elysian frowned, clearly unconvinced. "And what if your festival is just a facade to distract us from your true intentions?" Jonah took a deep breath, seeking to defuse the tension. "This is an opportunity, one that could lead to greater understanding. We must try." Lyra looked between Jonah and her skeptical compatriot. "What do you think, Tander? Should we consider his proposal?" Tander crossed his arms. "What assurance do we have that this human is not playing us for fools?" "Let me prove my sincerity," Jonah implored. "I have an idea. If I may, I would like to demonstrate aspects of human art right now. You'll see the emotion woven within it." Lyra nodded, intrigued. "Very well. Show us what you mean." Excitement coursed through Jonah as he knelt in the lush grass. With careful movements, he began to draw in the soil with a stick, creating simple but meaningful symbols, a heart intertwined with a globe, a tree with branches reaching out. "This represents unity," Jonah explained, glancing up to gauge their reactions. "A heart that embraces the world and all who inhabit it. It's a reminder that life flourishes when we support one another." Lyra and Tanda leaned in, their curiosity piqued. Jonah could see the initial skepticism fading from Tander's expression. "Interesting concept," Tando admitted, his arms slowly uncrossing. "But is this all you have?" Jonah stood up, brushing the dirt from his hands. "No, there's more. Music is fundamental to human expression as well. Let me show you." Jonah removed a small instrument, a portable flute, from his vest. Taking a deep breath, he began to play a haunting melody, a mix of joy and longing that danced in the air. As the notes soared, he watched as Lyra's eyes closed, her body swaying slightly. Tanda remained still but seemed mesmerized. The sound calmed the tension, inviting them to listen closely. When the last notes faded, Jonah set the flute aside. "That's just a taste of what we can share, a glimpse into our hearts, just as you share yours." Lyra opened her eyes, a soft smile gracing her features. "You convey emotion well, Captain. But actions speak louder than words. Your festival idea, how exactly will it foster understanding?" "It will bring our peoples together," Jonah replied enthusiastically. "Food, music, art, sharing them can dismantle barriers. We'll learn about each other, not just from what we create, but from the interactions we share." Tander looked thoughtful now, although still cautious. And if your festival invokes chaos instead of unity? Jonah considered this, determination hardening his resolve. Then we adapt. Growth is a journey filled with uncertainty, but every step taken together can lead to something beautiful. Lyra appeared contemplative, exchanging glances with Tander. Very well, Captain. You have my interest. We will bring this proposal before the council. Prepare yourself. I will hold you to your words. Thank you, Lyra, Jonah said, relief washing over him. I promise. I'll show you our best. As they began their dialogue, a rapport began to build. Jonah recognized that these new allies could change the course of humanity's future. Though the path ahead was unpredictable, he felt a flicker of optimism. Together, they walked away from the meeting ground, discussing ideas about the upcoming festival. With every exchanged thought, the bond between them deepened. Jonah felt invigorated, encouraged that perhaps unity was within their grasp after all. Chapter 2: The Seeds of Trust. Days passed and the preparations for the cultural festival were in full swing. Jonah Swift found himself immersed in a whirlwind of activity alongside his Elysian counterpart, Lyra. The festival would be their first real test, a chance to weave their civilizations together through mutual understanding. Captain, Lyra called, her voice cutting through the bustle of preparations. We need to finalize the festival layout. The council wants to ensure that all Elysians feel included. Jonah turned, his hands laden with colorful fabric and decorations he had chosen to bring from Earth. Absolutely, Lyra. I was hoping we could designate specific areas for different activities, like art installations, music performances, and a food area. Yes, but we must also ensure that our people feel comfortable exploring your culture. We should create a space for dialogue as well, Lyra suggested, enthusiasm lighting her eyes. Jonah smiled, appreciating her dedication. Great idea. We can set up booths where individuals can share stories. That way everyone's voice can be heard. As they walked through the fields of Elysium, Lyra gestured toward a large open space surrounded by vibrant flora. Here, perhaps? The beauty of this place will enhance the experience for all. Perfect choice, Jonah agreed, laying the fabric down as they outlined where each booth would go. Let's mark sections for food and art here. Just then, Tander, the skeptical Elysian who had opposed their initial proposal, approached with a few others in tow. What are you doing? He asked, skepticism still coloring his voice. Can you really create a festival worth attending? Jonah straightened. That's exactly what we're working on, Tander. We want to show our cultures in a way that invites connection. Tander crossed his arms, his features still wary. And how will you guarantee that your people will behave? This isn't just about us. We're all in this together, Jonah insisted. We want your community to feel secure. Let's create guidelines everyone can follow during the festival. Lyra nodded, her expression firm. We can all contribute to this agreement, ensuring that both cultures are respected. After a moment, Tander relented, his arms dropping to his sides. Fine. Just make sure these humans do not overstep. We'll do our best, Jonah replied, feeling the tension slowly ease. And we value your input. Will you help us set these guidelines? Very well. I will gather a few others for discussion, Tander said, his voice softer now. But remember, you need to earn the trust of my people. As Tander departed, Jonah exchanged a glance with Lyra. Do you think we're making progress? I believe so, she replied, brushing a lock of hair back. Building trust takes time, but your creativity is shining through. They continued to brainstorm, mapping out ideas for the booths. Jonah felt energized, working side by side with Lyra. There was a chemistry between them, an unspoken understanding that transcended their differences. Do you have a favorite human dish? She asked, curiosity tinging her tone. Definitely. It's called pizza. It's a flatbread topped with a variety of ingredients and baked, Jonah explained. I thought we could share that with your people. Lyra raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. Interesting. How do you prepare this pizza? Jonah chuckled, enjoying her enthusiasm. You take dough and stretch it out to a circle, then add tomato sauce, cheese, and various toppings depending on your taste. But we could add some Elysian ingredients as well. Cheese and what else? She probed further, her excitement palpable. Sautéed mushrooms, olives, or even something sweet like pineapple. It's really about preference, Jonah shared, his own enthusiasm growing. That sounds delicious. We'll need to gather ingredients from both our worlds, Lyra said, her eyes shining. Absolutely. We can set up a pizza-making station. Jonah exclaimed. Guests can make their own creations. It'll be interactive. Lyra laughed softly, the sound brightening the atmosphere. This is turning into a grand affair. As the pair continued their preparations, they noticed a few Elysians gathering nearby, watching in curiosity. Jonah turned to them and found they were part of the council, their expressions a mixture of skepticism and intrigue. Lyra, Jonah whispered, slightly nervous. It looks like the council is here. She nodded solemnly, stepping forward to greet them. Greetings, fellow council members. We're preparing for the festival and discussing what it will entail. Will the humans truly honor our traditions? One Elysian asked, her voice steady. Jonah stepped forward, ready to address the concern. We are committed to respecting your customs. This festival is about unity, not appropriation. We are eager to learn how to incorporate Elysian traditions into the event. Show us how you can do this, another council member said, studying Jonah with piercing eyes. We need to see commitment. Absolutely, Jonah said, feeling the weight of their expectations. We're ready to work closely with you. I'd love to learn about your customs firsthand. Lyra interjected, her voice soothing. Jonah is sincere. He has shared ideas that involve our art and traditions. We're aiming for a collaboration, not a spectacle. We need to ensure our cultures are reflected appropriately, the first council member reiterated, crossing her arms. I understand, Jonah replied earnestly, swallowing a lump in his throat. I want to make sure this isn't a one-sided affair. Please share your traditions with me. Perhaps we could demonstrate some traditional dances, an Elysian suggested. These dances convey stories central to our culture. I would love that. Show me and I'll do my best to learn. We can showcase it during the festival, Jonah replied. The council members exchanged wary glances, gauging his sincerity. Finally, the first Elysian spoke again. Very well. We will consider your proposal and discuss this further. But if you fail to honor your promises, there will be consequences. Jonah nodded, understanding the gravity of their words. I accept. I'll do everything in my power to ensure this festival reflects both our cultures. As the council departed, Jonah turned to Lyra, exhilarated but aware of the stakes. This is our chance, right? To show them we can connect. Yes, but we must continue to prove ourselves, she replied, her voice steady. We'll need your full attention. Jonah nodded vigorously. Count on it. I won't let you down, Lyra. Together, we'll make this festival a reality. The evening wind rustled through the vibrant flora as they resumed their work, feeling the weight of their mission but also the promise of what lay ahead. With every decision made and every plan discussed, the bond between Jonah and Lyra grew stronger, paving the way for a future where humanity and Elysian culture could thrive side by side. Chapter 3: Shadows of Doubt. The days leading up to the festival flew by, each filled with intense preparations and discussions. Jonah found himself deeply entrenched in the details, crafting plans, gathering materials, and practicing Elysian dances under Lyra's watchful eye. Their collaboration had blossomed into something remarkable, but Jonah could sense the unease among some Elysians, particularly Tander. As the sun set on the eve of the festival, Jonah stood in the main hall of the Elysian Council, surrounded by the vibrant luminescence of the crystalline structures. He had just finished a lengthy presentation detailing the festival's arrangements when Tander broke the silence. Captain Swift, Tander began, his voice sharp. You claim to embrace our culture, yet you've invited many humans to this festival. Do you not see the potential for chaos? Jonah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the room's attention. I understand your concerns, Tander, but this is an opportunity for understanding, not chaos. Our cultures can share and learn, as long as we approach this together. Tander leaned forward, his expression skeptical. And how do you propose to control the actions of your people? I'll be there to ensure everything runs smoothly. We have guidelines for behavior, and will host joint activities to encourage cooperation. Jonah explained earnestly. Lyra stepped in, her voice calm yet firm. We've discussed this, Tander. If we present ourselves as allies, we can foster a sense of unity among our peoples. Oh, is that what you think? Tander shot back. Unity does not come from mere words. It requires conviction. Jonah felt the tension rise. Then let us demonstrate our commitment. I'll be the first to stand before both our peoples and ask for their cooperation. They must understand the importance of this festival. A bold move, Tander said, crossing his arms, but one that could backfire quickly. If they see me as an ally, I believe they'll follow suit, Jonah countered. Together, we can guide them toward a common purpose. The council members exchanged wary glances, whispering among themselves. Finally, Lyra spoke again, her eyes fixed on Tander. We have one chance to set the tone. Let's not squander it by harboring doubt. Tander hesitated, his resolve seemingly wavering. Very well, Jonah. If you want to lead, we will watch and weigh your actions carefully. Thank you, Jonah said, feeling encouraged. Let's make this festival something remarkable. As the meeting adjourned, Jonah stepped outside into the cool evening air, seeking to clear his mind. He found Lyra leaning against a crystalline pillar, contemplating the glowing landscape. What do you think? Jonah asked, joining her. Did that go well? She sighed. Tanda still harbors suspicion. We have much to prove to win over those who fear change. I know, Jonah replied, but I believe in her vision. If we can pull this off, it could change their perspective. Lyra turned to him, her expression serious. Make sure you do not underestimate their fears. Many Elysians have witnessed betrayal in the past. You must earn their confidence, and it won't happen overnight. Jonah nodded, absorbing her words. I'll take every step carefully. Thank you for your guidance. They stood together for a moment, the quiet stretching between them filled with unspoken thoughts. Jonah felt a warmth in his chest, drawn to Lyra in a way that transcended their diplomatic roles. Are you ready for tomorrow? Jonah asked, trying to lighten the mood. Did you practice the dance? A playful smirk crossed her lips. It's more complex than it seems. But yes, I'll do my best not to embarrass you. You could never embarrass me, Jonah said, grinning. You'll be amazing. Their eyes met, and Jonah felt a spark, the kind that stirred a longing he hadn't anticipated. Before he could analyze it further, the moment passed as they turned back toward the council building. The next day arrived with a vibrancy that electrified the atmosphere. The festival site was alive with the colors and sounds of both cultures merging. Humans and Elysians alike shared their crafts, foods, and art, the air thick with excitement. As Jonah moved through the crowd, he spotted Tander, who was strategically observing everything from a distance. His earlier skepticism was evident in the way he coiled his arms around himself. Jonah approached, determined to engage him. Tander, what do you think of the festival so far? Tander's gaze remained fixed on the crowd. It's tidy, but I still do not trust the humans. Trust takes time, Jonah responded, his voice steady. I'm asking for the chance to earn it. Let's speak to our people together. Let them see our unity. Very well, Tander relented. But I will be watching closely. Jonah's heart raced as he climbed onto a makeshift stage, Tander flanking him. The hum of conversation quieted as eyes turned to them. Welcome everyone. Jonah called out. Thank you for coming. Today is not just a festival, it is a chance for us to build bridges and share in our differences. Cheers erupted from the crowd, a blend of human and Elysian voices. Jonah felt lifted by their energy. This festival is about sharing our stories, he continued. Through art, music, and food, we'll learn from one another. I hope you will join me in the celebration. However, the cheers were soon interrupted by a shout from a human in the back. What makes you think we can trust them? Jonah looked directly at the man, feeling the room tense. Trust is built through understanding. I ask for patience as we navigate this path together. We know change can be daunting, but unity benefits us all. Lyra stepped alongside him, taking the opportunity. Recent events have shown us how trepidation can turn to collaboration. Let us show you how our cultures can enhance one another. The crowd murmured, the mix of doubt and curiosity palpable. Tander remained stoic, watching their reactions closely. Can you promise that this will not end in chaos? Another voice called out. I can promise that we will make mistakes, but we are committed to learning, Jonah replied earnestly. We've already taken the first step by standing here together. As the conversations proceeded, Jonah felt the tension begin to dissipate. They weren't an easy audience, but they were starting to open up. The festival continued to unveil its magic. Jonah watched as humans and Elysians danced together, sharing laughter and stories. Tandu approached him. Jonah said, feeling a rush of optimism. Let's keep working together. We're all in this together. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in warm hues, Jonah knew there was much ahead. Challenges, tests, and moments both joyful and difficult. Yet he stood ready, inspired by the possibilities ahead and the connections he hoped would grow deeper. Chapter 4. The Festival of Unity. The day of the festival had finally arrived, and anticipation hung thick in the air. Jonah stood at the center of the bustling festival grounds, excitement bubbling within him. The vibrant decorations reflected the essence of both human and Elysian cultures, and laughter filled the atmosphere. "Captain," Lyra called, weaving her way through a crowd of onlookers. "The pizza booth is set up, and the ingredients from both worlds have arrived." Jonah turned to her, already grinning. "Great! Did you get the Elysian herbs I asked for?" "Of course." She giggled, inspecting the array of ingredients laid out on tables. "Let's see how they'll blend together." They moved over to the booth, which was adorned with sparkling banners that danced in the breeze. Various foods from both cultures were beautifully displayed, creating an inviting atmosphere. The rich aromas from the pizza station wafted through the air, making Jonah's stomach rumble. "Tander isn't here yet, is he?" Jonah asked, glancing around. "Not yet, but I have faith in you. Just be sure to keep things running smoothly," Lyra said, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. "Right, no pressure," Jonah laughed. As they began preparing the pizza, a group of humans approached, curious about the display. "What's this? We've never seen Elysian ingredients before," one man exclaimed, leaning over to inspect the colorful herbs. Jonah smiled. "Welcome. Today we're mixing traditional human pizza with Elysian flavors. Care to help us make some?" The humans exchanged glances, then shrugged. "Why not? Sounds fun." While Jonah instructed them on how to stretch the dough, Lyra prepared the ingredients, lending an Elysian flair to everything they created. The laughter and chatter flowed as they worked together, a blend of cultures mixing seamlessly. "Do you think Tander will actually show up?" one of the humans asked, tossing dough into the air. "I hope so," Jonah replied, glancing around. He was skeptical but seemed a bit more open during the announcement. Lyra nodded, glancing toward the horizon. "He needs to see our efforts. He needs to feel that there is more to humanity than he thinks." Just then, Tandu appeared in the distance, making his way through the crowd, flanked by several curious Elysians. The air grew tense as they arrived at the pizza booth, all eyes on him. "Well, this is colorful," Tandu remarked, his gaze sweeping the setup. "Thank you," Jonah said, stepping forward. "We're making pizza using a mix of Elysian herbs and human toppings. Want to join us?" "I suppose I will observe," Tandu replied, crossing his arms, still skeptical. "Observation is a good start," Jonah said, a light smile on his face. "Perhaps you'll want to get your hands dirty after all?" A hesitant laugh escaped Tander, but he remained guarded. "Let's see what you can do." As the group began folding ingredients into the crust, Tander watched closely. "You keep saying this is a festival of unity. How do you plan to ensure that nothing disastrous happens?" Lyra interjected, tilting her head. "By working together. Our cultures can learn from one another, and this festival is just the start. Isn't that right, Jonah?" "Exactly. This is not just about food. It's about sharing experiences, stories, and laughter," Jonah added, feeling the energy around him shift. A human from the group tossed Tando a slice of the freshly baked pizza. "Here, give it a try." Tanda hesitated but eventually reached out, taking the slice with wary hands. He examined it for a moment before taking a cautious bite. His eyes widened, clearly surprised. "This is unexpectedly good," he admitted, swallowing. "It has depth. What did you put in it?" Jonah chuckled. "That's the beauty of fusion. We used Elysian herbs along with traditional toppings, just like the hearts of our cultures. It all comes together in a way we didn't imagine." Tanda nodded slowly, contemplating the flavors. If our cultures can blend like this pizza, then perhaps there is potential indeed. Encouraged by Tander's response, Jonah motioned to the others. "Let's make more. The storage is full of ingredients." As the festival continued, Lyra and Jonah demonstrated an Elysian dance, intertwining it with human movements. Lyra showed Jonah her unique steps, graceful and flowing, while he added some lively human flair. Eventually, several humans and Elysians began to join them, creating a blend of dance styles that showcased their cultures. "Look, they're having fun," one human exclaimed, nudging his friend. "I didn't know they could move like that." "It's impressive," his friend replied, watching in awe. Seeing the joy spread through the crowd, Tander stepped closer, a small smile creeping onto his usually stoic face. "Maybe there is more depth to this collaboration than I previously thought." Jonah caught Tander's eye. "This is just the beginning. We can continue to develop these connections for our peoples through art, music, and, yes, food." As the sun dipped lower in the sky, the atmosphere took on a warm glow. Jonah watched as Elysians and humans mingled, sharing stories and creating memories. The festival had achieved something. Unity was visibly growing between them. Let's gather everyone for a moment, Jonah called, raising his hands to the assembled crowd. We've shown that we can create together, but we also need your stories. The crowd quieted, curiosity swirling. Jonah continued, today is about more than just food or dance. It's about the relationships we build. How many here would like to share something from their home? A human stepped forward. I'll share a story about why my family came to this planet. It was for a fresh start, but now I see it's more than that. The crowd murmured in agreement as more people shared their stories, tales of loss, friendship, and what brought them together on this extraordinary day. Lyra stood beside Jonah, her expression filled with pride. This feels wonderful, she whispered to him, her voice barely rising above the crowd. Seeing our peoples connect like this is everything I hoped for. I have to admit, when I first arrived, I didn't know if any of this would work, Jonah confessed. But now, I feel like we're really achieving something. Trust is built in moments like these, Lyra replied. And it seems they're beginning to see you as more than just a human. Before Jonah could respond, Tander raised his voice, commanding the attention of the crowd. It appears we have much to learn from one another. Perhaps today marks a new path for our peoples. But let us remember, this is just the first step. Together, we can create a future. Applause erupted around them, swelling with enthusiasm. Jonah felt a swell of hope, heartened by Tander's words. As the festival progressed into the night, the conversations grew deeper, laughter echoed louder, and connections formed stronger. Another success. Jonah cheered as he watched the vibrant crowd, feeling elated. Yet, amid the joy, he also sensed that they couldn't let their guard down. There would be challenges ahead, skepticism still lingering. But for today, they danced, shared, and embraced the vibrant mosaic they were creating together. A festival rich in every shade of existence, celebrating the connections that bridged worlds. Chapter 5, The Dawn of a New Era. The day after the festival dawned cool and crisp. Jonah woke in a vibrant Elysian city, a sense of satisfaction washing over him as memories of the previous day played in his mind. The laughter, the dance, the food all blended together in a way he had never imagined possible. Rubbing the sleep from his eyes, Jonah dressed quickly and made his way outside. The streets still buzzed with the vestiges of the festival, decorations fluttered in the gentle breeze, and a few early risers were busy cleaning up remnants from the celebration. Captain, Mira called, catching up with him. How are you feeling about everything? I feel good, Jonah replied, flashing her a smile. The festival exceeded my expectations. Elysians and humans actually connected. Mira raised an eyebrow. You really think it's enough to change perceptions? Change doesn't happen overnight, Jonah admitted. But we've taken a significant step forward. If we keep building on this, we can do something incredible. Just then, Lyra approached, her luminescent skin glowing softly in the morning light. Good morning, Jonah. And Mira. What a fantastic celebration we had. Morning, Lyra, Jonah said. It really was something special. I think it might have sparked a shift in how our cultures view each other. I felt the connection strongly during the storytelling. So many emotions came to light, she responded, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. But we must keep that momentum going. I agree, Jonah said as he clasped his hands together. We can't let this be just a one-off event. We should plan follow-up activities, cultural workshops, art exchanges. Something to keep that dialogue open. Lyra nodded excitedly. Yes, even more ways to engage our peoples. I can contact the council and gather support. Great idea. Jonah was already plotting how they could manage additional events. And more collaborative art projects would be fantastic. We could host exhibitions that combine both our styles. Mira chimed in. I've seen some incredible human artists who would be eager to showcase their work here. Not to mention the Elysians' craftsmanship. With their ideas energized, they headed to the central meeting hall where the Elysian Council was convening. Jonah was determined to present their proactive vision for the future. As they entered, tandem conversations filled the large room. Tander was already seated among the council members, looking pensively down at the rich textures of the ceiling above. Jonah, Lyra, Mira, welcome, Tander said, his tone neutral. What brings you here so early? Jonah stepped forward, ready to address the council. We would like to propose further engagements between our peoples. The festival demonstrated our potential for unity, but we shouldn't let that momentum fade. The council members exchanged glances. Lyra took the lead, expressing their shared vision. We want to create workshops, art exchanges, and storytelling sessions so that both our cultures can learn from one another continuously. Tanda raised an eyebrow, curiosity piqued. And how do you believe this will benefit us? Why should we invest more time and resources into human endeavors? Because, Jonah interjected, this is about collaboration. While the festival was successful, we can make this a sustainable relationship. This is about forging friendships, understanding each other, and exploring what we can create together. A ripple of intrigue coursed through the council members. Jonah felt the tension in the air shift, replaced by cautious optimism. Collaboration has potential, but you must demonstrate that it will not lead to discord. Another council member said, eyeing Jonah intently. Exactly. But we need to move beyond mere words. Jonah pressed. Let's put together a shared agenda. We could start with an exhibition displaying our art and music. What else? Tanner asked, his incredulous demeanor beginning to soften. Mira jumped in, and perhaps we can organize joint volunteer projects. This way, our people can work side by side to address community needs, like environmental care or helping local families. Those are brilliant ideas, Tander acknowledged, his stance becoming increasingly less rigid. Are you prepared to bring your communities together for this? Absolutely, Jonah affirmed. Let us be the catalysts for this change. After a lengthy discussion filled with both skepticism and budding enthusiasm, the council tentatively approved a series of workshops and joint projects. Jonah and Lyra felt the weight of progress settling in the room. As they left the hall, Lyra turned to Jonah, her face radiant. You did it. They're open to the collaboration. It feels incredible. Now we just need to ensure we deliver, Jonah replied enthusiastically. Let's start coordinating, Mira suggested. Perhaps we can host our first workshop next week? Get everyone on board early to keep the spark alive. Agreed, Jonah said. And I think it will show the council that we mean business. The trio began their immediate preparations. They drafted plans, contacted artists from each side, and set up a schedule for the upcoming workshops. Each idea unleashed the potential for creativity and community, igniting their enthusiasm even further. As the week progressed, the follow-up workshop day finally arrived. Jonah stood at the designated site as humans and Elysians mingled, a vibrant tapestry of color and culture forming around him. He felt a buzz of energy as everyone shared stories and inspirations. Remember, this is about openness, Jonah instructed, surveying the crowd. Don't hesitate to share your thoughts. Suddenly, Tander joined them, observing from the side. He watched attentively as humans painted next to Elysians, both groups characteristically blending their techniques into unified pieces. What do you think, Tander? Jonah asked, noticing the change in his demeanor. It is impressive, Tander replied, nodding slightly. I see the synergy forming. Want to give it a try? Jonah suggested, motioning toward a canvas smeared with color. Tander took a step back. I am not an artist. Neither am I, Jonah countered. But art is about expression, not perfection. Come on, let's experiment together. With hesitation, Tander approached the canvas and Jonah handed him a brush. Just let it flow. What do you feel? As Tander tentatively dipped the brush into colors, Jonah's heart raced. The others around them shared laughter, discussing their own works while glancing at Tander, who was slowly allowing himself to engage. I am not skilled at this, Tander remarked, his expression softening as he blended colors on the canvas. Trust me, it's about emotion. What does it feel like to paint? Jonah asked. Tander hesitated. It feels liberating. I've never done something so spontaneous. Exactly. Jonah encouraged, feeling a rush of camaraderie. Let it out. As Tander continued painting, Jonah felt the atmosphere shift even further. People surrounded the canvas, sharing stories of their lives, each color echoing emotions, the once rigid lines of acceptance beginning to blur. With every stroke, Tander transformed, his artistic insecurity giving way to confidence. Jonah watched in awe as stories unfurled before him. This was not just painting, it was a revelation. Hours passed and laughter mingled with artistic expression. As the sun dipped low in the sky, leaving streaks of pink and orange on the horizon, Jonah recognized a beautiful truth emerging. The connection they had started to cultivate was taking on a life of its own. Look at this, one human exclaimed, stepping back from the canvas, revealing a collaborative piece that wove together stories and experiences from both cultures. Jonah beamed proudly. This is what we set out to do, to create something together. Tander placed the brush down slowly, stepping back to admire their work. It seems you might be onto something more profound than I realized. Perhaps this unity can lead us to a new era. Yes, a new beginning for our peoples, Jonah said, feeling exhilarated. Lyra joined Jonah, her eyes twinkling at the sight. You did it, Jonah. You brought us all together. As they looked at the canvas filled with vibrant colors, symbols, and shared stories, Jonah felt the weight of their journey transform into something beautiful. They had awakened a new understanding that began with small steps but had the potential to grow into an expansive partnership. Each brushstroke represented a promise, a commitment to stay connected, to learn, and to create together as they stepped into an uncertain but exciting future.